Today is a great day to be alive, and what a great time that we're having that we can join together and spend this time together. I miss you, and this is a great time to celebrate together. You know, it is a beautiful sunny day, and as Rich mentioned before, it's something that we can truly enjoy looking out and seeing the warm sunshine and seeing the flowers of springtime, in spite of all of our worries and all of our fears and those that may be ill and those that are worrying about becoming ill and all of the economic challenges that we're having and all the things that we don't understand. The sun's shining today, and it's beautiful. And God wants to speak to every one of us. We love to start our services with the 118th Psalm that says, "Today is the day that the Lord hath made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it." What a great time together. I want to share with you our series on Jesus on life. And we've been talking about how Jesus intended life to be a party. And last week we shared about the very first miracle that Jesus performed in the wedding at Cana, providing more wine, and what that says about life and about Jesus and about what we can understand about our lives. And today we're looking on to Matthew chapter 22. Another great statement about God and about your life today is that it's the parable of the wedding banquet. And in the parable of the wedding banquet, it starts out, Jesus spoke to them again in parables. And so this is a story that's made up by Jesus to illustrate a heavenly point. And he's telling them what the kingdom of heaven is like. And he compares it to this incredible banquet that's going on, this party, this event that is the event of a lifetime. Now, at the time of Jesus in the first century, weddings were a huge event. They took place over a week's time, and I'm sure the father of the bride had to spend a lot and save a lot and then pay a lot later for their friends to enjoy this event. But Jesus tells a story about there's a rich man, and he's a king, and he's powerful. And so let me just translate it into our age. Imagine that one of the richest families in the world in our area here invited people to this phenomenal party, this phenomenal banquet for this that they were having to celebrate a wedding, and you were invited, and you heard ahead of time that it was going to be held at the most plush resort that we have in our area. There's several that I can think of, and that it was very exclusive to get there, and you're sent your invitation, which also works with computers to check you into different things, and people are expected to wear their nicest clothes and everything else. But it goes on to tell about the event, and it says, this is going to be the most incredible event that you're going to. I mean, it's going to be the greatest of everything. And so at the event, there's going to be a delicious meal that's catered by Canlis. And so everyone gets to choose whatever they want from the menu from that. And the dessert is going to be catered by Haagen-Dazs. Now, this is my parable, so I can choose whatever dessert I want. Everyone gets to have chocolate Haagen-Dazs ice cream or something like that. And party favors are going to be a brand new Corvette Stingray for every person that's coming. And married couples, they each get one themselves. And this is just going to be an extravagant party. The dancing part is going to be hosted by Puff Daddy. And it's going to be this cool event. And I don't quite know who Puff Daddy was, but his name sounds cool. And is, yeah. So anyway, all these people are invited to come, and people don't come after all that expense. And so this billionaire goes to his staff, and he says, okay, let's don't invite those people. Let's go out and just find the homeless and invite them to come to the party. And so they go out and they find people that are homeless and they're poor, and they say, put on your best clothes, go to the second-hand store and buy new clothes and new ties and everything else so you can come to this party, and it's going to be spectacular. But in the story, Jesus tells how ticked off this imaginary host of this event would be if he had gone to all this great extravagance and people didn't come. One went to a field, he says, and another one went to their job, and another one had something else to do. And so here's this incredible, extravagant event, and they miss out on the party. Now, what Jesus is trying to, there's many things that are being taught in this parable, and it teaches a lot about God, and you could write your PhD dissertation on this. But one of the points that Jesus is trying to make is how life and heaven, which starts right now, is supposed to be a celebration. It's supposed to be a party. Now, in this day and age, you might be thinking, I can't even imagine that life is a party. This kind of Christianity doesn't relate to me. This message I can't relate to. In fact, just before the service started, I had a phone call on my phone, and it was from my daughter Elise, and they live down in Texas, and she had our two grandkids on there, and they were really antsy and kind of climbing all over her and teasing and having fun, and she said, we're on day 3 of the lockdown here in Texas, where they've closed down schools, and we're all supposed to stay home, and there's no place to go. And she said, and we're done. We've had enough of it. And I said, well, at least you got the kids with you, because they were so full of energy and vitality that it was hard for us even to talk. And I said, why don't you just ship them up to us so we can have that distraction? My other grandchildren, my daughters had them online, and she showed a picture of them in a tent. They made it in the house, and they were just having a party of it. They didn't know anything that was going on, any problems, as long as their mom or dad could say, we're going to have a tent. In fact, they named it a rocket ship tent. They were just having a blast. Jesus said, suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for such is the kingdom of heaven. As we started this series, Jesus said in John 10:10, the thief comes to kill and destroy, but I have come that you might have life in all of its abundance, all of its overflowing. Jesus came to give us life. Now, life is supposed to be a party, but the party is not the goal. Some people, by nature throughout time, regardless of the addictions that they could have, think that the intention of life is just to celebrate and have fun and not to do anything else, and it ends up backfiring on them and destroying their lives. No, life is supposed to be a party. It's supposed to be full of life while we do life, while we love the people we're supposed to love and do the things that we're supposed to accomplish in our lifetime, and pursue take on the challenges that we have to take on together. That's a part of everyone's life. And in 1 Peter chapter 4, it tells us this verse that I just love to share, when Peter says, don't be surprised at the trials and difficulties. No, be surprised by the joy. So a lot of us are shocked. We never imagined that we'd reach a day when we'd have a pandemic that would close down the schools, the churches, all the sporting events, and we're still shocked by it. And even those people of faith who have a faith can be filled with panic and fear. I mean, just watch the television. You can watch 24 hours a day of things that you should be worrying about, and they'll still find new things to worry about. In the middle of that, there has been a promise of life and joy and celebration. That Jesus was the intention of Jesus coming here so that we could have life. Now, when Peter pens those words in 1 Peter, he's preparing people for a great tribulation. They were going to have a tribulation in Rome, that he would lose his life in that tribulation. It would be horrible. People were tortured to death. And Jesus said, don't be surprised that people are doing horrible things. Be surprised by the joy in the middle of it. And that's what I'm appealing to you today. In the middle of this time when many people are stuck at home, and some people are worried about their finances, I guess maybe all of us are worried about our finances. There are some great things that are going to happen. Someone in this planet is going to write a best-selling book because they're stuck at home and they never had the time to work on the book. Other people are probably going to make money during this time. They're going to buy and sell toilet paper and make tons of money or something like that. I don't know what's going on with the toilet paper. Doesn't even correspond to the pandemic that we're having, but they're just bought out all over. And I see all kinds of jokes from a jewelry shop that was selling a toilet paper roll for $2,999, and you get the diamond ring for free. And there's all kinds of jokes about maybe letting the cartel distribute toilet paper, where you go down and you meet a drug dealer on a corner and you say the right words, and then for $1,000 you can buy a roll of toilet paper. And I think that I feel for the government trying to announce hope to us during this time of crisis, but maybe a good idea for them would be to say they're going to put the FBI, the CIA, the policemen and women across the United States, the fire departments and everything else on finding out who's hoarding the toilet paper and why they're doing it. I would, if you were here in live, I would ask you to raise your hand if you've been hoarding toilet paper. But it's one of those things on the side that who knows what's happening. It's something that maybe we can laugh about a little bit. There's going to be great jokes that are invented during this time of crisis. There's going to be families that after they're done with the time of staying home and they've built all the tents they could build in their house with their kids, they're going to learn a new sense of closeness. And in fact, all of us are humbled by what's going on. Every person, no matter what they're religious or if they're not even religious, we care to hear if they're suffering from this illness. And all other illnesses, we're not going to take away from those that are suffering from other things that are life-threatening and painful. No, we learn the value of life and how humanity is life is precious on this globe, and that we care for one another, and that we're going to reach out to other people. And we have a great job to do. There's homeless that still need to be taken care of. There's people that are shut-ins that are all by themselves. You can imagine how afraid they are. If you're a shut-in and you're watching this, please reach out. It's going to bless someone to be able to bless you. And there are people that are facing financial consequences. We're really going to have to pull together as a planet like we never have before. Most of us were raised in the shadow of a generation that survived the Great Depression and World War II. And everything that happened, whether it was time to go to work and mow the lawn, they would say, well, let me tell you about the Great Depression, right? Every meal that we have, if we're short of something, they'd be like, here's what we did in the Great Depression. Here's how we responded. Here's how people got along. And it does mean a lot. I remember my Grandpa White telling stories about being a pastor of a church when the Great Depression was taking place, and how people had come out to the place in Eastern Oregon to homestead the land, and they had maybe saved a rocking chair from their losses and back east. And they didn't even know how to farm. They didn't have the equipment for it. So with bare hands, they were farming the territory. And how God survived and was victorious. The community pulled together. People's faith that was non-existent started with a seed, and it grew strong to build a shelter for all of their family. And he used to go around as an old grandpa, which I am now, but he used to go around and he'd see a family that I knew that had a very successful ranch or a farm, and he'd say, I remember your parents or your grandparents when they started that farm, how hard it was to them. You don't realize the struggle they had to give you the blessings. Well, someday there's going to be a generation that we're going to be saying, this is like the time of the pandemic that we weathered. And these are the lessons that we learned. This is the poise that we found in our faith. This is the respect that we had for people that didn't agree with us and that had different opinions. This is how we came together as humanity, humbled, more authentic because of the crisis that we're going through. Now, Jesus said in the midst of the greatest struggles of life, that life should be a party. He spoke to people in just such moving words when he said, why do you worry about tomorrow? Look at the birds. They're not worrying about tomorrow. Look at the flowers of the field, the lilies of the field. They're not worried about tomorrow. Jesus would speak to our greatest worries, our greatest fears, and his followers would tell us to don't worry, but to pray about everything. This is a season when we're going to grow, if we'll allow God to help us grow. Now, one of the things that I've seen in my lifetime as a pastor, and 46 years of being a pastor, 47 years of being a full-time pastor, is that in the greatest struggles of people's life, God emerges and he gives us blessings and joy. I remember a family that I was seeing early on when we started the church here in the east side of Seattle. And there was a family that was very wealthy, and they've been very busy. And boy, this happens so many times I can get them mixed up with one another. But the mother was passing away from brain cancer. And so they called me as she was getting ready to pass on. And I'd been there many times to visit. And all of her 3 adult daughters were there. And there was a kind of a formality that is strange when kids grow up and life moves on. And the father was there. He was just so broken he could hardly talk. And the girls could hardly comfort one another. It was such a sad time. And so I asked the mom as we're there waiting, and she was having difficulty, and she was the only one wanting to talk. And I said, "What are some of your happiest memories?" She smiled. "Boy, I can't even choose. There are so many through the years, during the tough times and every time else." And then it came to her mind, there was a twinkle in her eye whenever she had this happy memory. In the midst of the struggle, she said, "I remember when the Winter Olympics were going on, and we were snowed in, and the girls decided to have their own Winter Olympics here on our hardwood floors with their socks. And so they had ice skating competition where they would do the performances just like the Olympics. They could spin and they could jump, and they fell on their faces a lot of times, but we just laughed. Then they had the speed skating competition up and down our halls, and they're all just in they discovered that just their socks worked like ice skates on the hardwood floor, and even Dad got involved, and he knocked over my china rack, and then he stopped being so sad, and he got a twinkle in his eye, and he started laughing, and the girls just had not girlish laughs, but deep belly laughs as they're laughing and snorting like they're little girls, remembering all that incredible moment together that their mom could see the joy, even in a difficult time like this. I have seen that time and time again, and you have too. There's joy in the middle of the struggle. There's a party to be had. When you join the kingdom of God, when you become a follower of Jesus Christ, your mission statement is to love life, to ease up on the worry, increase on your trust, understand the role you have as a person who would represent Jesus Christ, to treat people with dignity, kindness, to reach out and help other people, and to have fun in the process. Our church has been through difficult times in the history of this church, 36 years this fall. But we've had fun in every time. We would laugh. We would see the funniest things together. We would share. We became close. Because Jesus was right when he said, "I want you to come to the banquet. Understand that life is important." And he tells the story with such vivid intensity that you see that God, it's not just it would be nice if you could enjoy life. It would be nice if you could trust and not worry. It would be nice if you could laugh and have joy. It would be nice if you could be kind to people. No, in this parable, the billionaire was ticked when the people they invited and provided this great banquet for didn't come. They were too busy. And so God is offended whenever we don't understand how much blessing he has. Just like a parent that would provide something for their kids and they don't use it. And they're very intense, but I want you to enjoy this. God looks down from us and he says, "I have come that you may have life and have it in all of its fullness." So in this season, let's have life. And I know there's a mixture of feelings that we have just watching this crisis take place. We're here in Redmond at Washington Cathedral, and for instance, the Life Care Center is a place that all of our pastors would be all the time. And I think of that in all the other places where people have the virus, and many of the retirement homes. It's all my stomping ground. I know the people. I care for the people. And I was so broken that I couldn't be there during this time. When I think of how much fear might have been spreading through those halls and how isolated people were and alone, I just wish that I could have been there. And we can reach out. We can experience God's power during this time. And we have to find the technology for it. We're working as a church to be able to use technology to be able to have online small groups, because that's always been the heart of Washington Cathedral. And that's coming soon, where we can talk together and share together. They just haven't figured out how to share the refreshments together online. But that's probably coming with Microsoft here in town and all the other companies like that. But good things are going to come out of this. And we need God now more than ever. So I want to pray for you, and I will be praying for you. All of our staff are here, and they're praying for you. But my wife Jackie is here, and she leads us in this time that we've come to enjoy in our services of guided prayer as we pray for our community, for our world, and for those that lead us during this time.